Well, hello, friends. This is Tommy Oaks, and this is the Story Break. Now, I've often maintained that just about every story you ever hear has a little lesson in it somewhere. And this story that I'm getting ready to tell, I'm sure has a lesson for a certain person. And I trust that if you're that person, this story will do you a lot of good when the time comes. Well, once upon a time, there was a man lived in an area where there were bad storms and tornadoes, and a lot of people built storm shelters. And one day he decided that he was going to build himself a storm shelter. He spent quite a bit of money on it, and he didn't have a lot of money, and it really hit him pretty hard to build that shelter. So he couldn't wait for the next storm to come. Well, a few days went by, and the clouds rolled in, the big old storm came in, and he got down in his storm shelter and waited out the storm. When the storm was over, he came out and his house was still there. His barn was still there. Everything looked good. So he kind of shrugged his shoulders, and a few days went by and another big storm moved in. He ran down in his storm shelter and stayed there and waited out the storm. And when the storm was over, he came out. House was still there. The barn was still there. Everything looked good. Well, this happened several times, and he began to regret all the money he had spent on that storm shelter. Well, a few days later, another storm rolled in. He ran down in his storm shelter, and when the storm was all over, he came up out of it, and his house and his barn, everything was gone. Well, he looked up to heaven and said, "Now that's more like it." And that's the end of that. Well, thanks for coming to the Story Break. This is Tommy Oaks. See you next time.